our brain, it kind of acts as a rev limiter. So maybe 15,000 years ago when we were running around and kind of chasing our food, the brain would never have understood why we would get up one day and run around in circles, not chasing anything or not being chased by anything.
Is there a certain height that's optimum?
It will get the muscles to produce lactic acid, which will slow us down, and it will think of all sorts of devious ways to slow us down. But actually what's really interesting with the African runners is if you talk to them, they actually see pain as a positive thing. Of course, they experience pain, but they see that as a sign that they're working really hard. Now, if your brain, if your software kind of gets used to that, it's a lot less likely to jump in and save you. So actually this is Ronex's data. And this is from the sensors that he was wearing on his shins. Okay. So essentially, we have a sensor on each leg, so it's measuring the ground reaction force on each leg, so it gives us a balance and symmetry. But one of the really exciting things, and this was genuinely an exciting thing for me to see today, that with Solomon and Ronex, one of the things, as discussed, that we were looking at was the deceleration when the foot hits the ground. Yeah. So every runner decelerates when the foot hits the ground. Now, normally, when I'm looking at runners, and the way that this software is developed is really the idea is that we should reduce the deceleration as much as we can, okay? Because that would make for more efficient movement. And actually, their deceleration is much higher than you would normally see on your everyday runner, if you like. Now, normally, if you just saw the data and you didn't see the runner and you didn't know the quality of the runner, and if I hadn't videoed the runner and looked at their ground contact time and stuff, I would say, that's not good. That's a lot of deceleration. But actually, they both have similar deceleration and they both move amazingly well. So this is changing everything. Today, this has changed my thought process, and I can't wait to get more sensors on more runners and scurry back to good Wi-Fi and start understanding why this might be happening. But yeah, so any thoughts on that? They're not hitting the ground any harder, but they are decelerating. So that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. That would seem to indicate that there's a level of caution in their relationship to the ground. When they're coming near the ground, they know instinctively in the mind.
For our runners back in the UK,
I'm going to hit the ground now, so let me just pull up a little bit.
Because that might injure me. I don't really want to do that. Yeah.
So that would be one possible, maybe oversimplification of what it is. But then on the positive side, would it be, let me hit the ground and then take off? That I'm making a more positive implant on the ground.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to create beautiful movement,
and
to create
kick off again from that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe on the positive side.
Yeah.
As Kenyans, I think, have a very healthy attitude towards movement and towards impact.
For runners, we tend to think that running is a very physical thing, but actually, and of course it is, but actually a lot of influence on our running movement comes from our brain. Our software or our central governor, that has a huge influence on it. So when we're looking to change our movement, or when we're looking to create beautiful movement, it's actually our brain and our software that we really want to try and maximize. And I think we have a very different relationship with our body and a very different perception of our body than I think the African runners do. We tend to grow up with this thought process of biomechanics. Okay, and I'm not too sure biomechanics is a thing. I think biomechanics is the way engineers talk about movement. But if we watch the East Africans run, mechanical is the last thing that really comes into my mind. I don't really think of that at all. But we grow up with this biomechanical kind of view of our body, and the big thing that does to us is makes us feel that our skeleton is kind of the main structure of our body. So that when we move, we visualize the skeleton kind of moving as a series of levers. So in any books that you see it, or if you go to the Natural History Museum, you will always see the skeleton in this upright position. So we kind of get the feeling that that's how the skeleton is. But actually, our skeleton is very far from that. Your skeleton is actually a series of individual bones,
floating around in a sea of elasticity. The Africans, they don't think they really know about the concept of tensegrity, but what they don't have is this biomechanical view of their body, because they don't really grow up kind of subjected to that biomechanics syllabus. So they just move the way that they feel is natural.